Hello everyone! With Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out in February, I thought I'd create a recap video of the FF7 Remake game. The point is to kind of re-emphasize where we left off in FF7 Remake and highlight some of the differences between the remake and the original game. I'll show some footage of the original game and where the story is, and also later on kind of dissect the new trailers and trying to figure out where some of Rebirth may take us. So, yeah, let's get started. Right from the start, Final Fantasy VII Remake has a much more elaborate opening video than the original. We see this bird here doing a overview shot of Midgar that we didn't get in the original game. So we see different shots of the Midgar city. We have these children and other things coming up, and as you can see in the bottom left corner, we have where the original game's opening started off, which was a starry sky that's kind of being panned over. And as you can see here, at this point in time, the two opening sequences are starting to converge on the starry sky. Here we have the introduction of one of our first characters, our major character, Aerith. As you can see, she's gotten quite a nice overhaul since the original game. One thing that I expected from the remake, of course, was the upgraded graphics and design. I also expected a revamped combat system that was not turn-based like the original. As we dive into the differences between the game, I expected them to flesh out some of the areas and add some side quests to make the Midgar section a standalone game, because in the original it only takes around 5 hours to get through what the remake covers. What I did not expect is the storyline changes with respect to the Whispers and alternate threads of fate that we will get into over the course of our analysis of all the chapters. And here we have the two main title sequences for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy Remake. Both the main videos converge, and we have an overlying shot of Midgar with the name of the game. And the story is ready to begin. If you don't recall, Final Fantasy VII Remake covers the Midgar section of Final Fantasy VII, and to spread it across 18 chapters, they gave more background story to Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. For the most part, this was a welcome addition to the game, and it winds up expanding into chapters in the remake that really didn't exist in the original game. But Keeping aligned with Chapter 1, we have the introduction of our main hero, Cloud, pretty much in the same manner that we had the original game.
Halt! Who goes there?
You're up.
You're coming with us. Nice and easy.
Don't think so. Cloud is ready to take on anyone, and his first task is to fight 2 Midgar soldiers.
Who in the hell? Hands where I can see them.
Have fun.
We just saw the original Final Fantasy VII was a turn-based combat. This was redone completely in the remake. Braver, for instance, is now an ability to use and not a limit break, as we aim to stagger opponents. Had the game been a complete graphics overhaul on this new combat system alone, this alone would have made the remake a success. Chapter 1 at this point really covers the original game pretty well. You're going to Sector 1 reactor, and the map and layout is very similar to the original game. In both games, right after the first battle, Cloud levels up to level 7. We don't have the ability to rename our characters from Barret or Cloud, but as you can see, if we compare the stats between both games, they're pretty similar. They're not exact because we have modified them for the new game format, but both characters start with the Buster Sword, the Bronze Bangle, and have equivalent type stats and materia.
Drop the weapon!
You got this.
Yeah, what he said. You're coming with us.
You can't get surrounded. Try harder. Nope. Let's go.
So what's Soldier Boy's deal? Is he one of us now? He's got balls, this, what was his name again?
Cloud Strife.
Right.
And he isn't a soldier anymore. Still, he's a professional, unlike the rest of us. I'm glad to have him.
This is a one-time gig. When it's done, we're done.
As you can see in both the remake and the original game, the goal is the same. The team, Biggs, Wedge, Barret, and Jesse, are simply fighting their way to get to reactor number 1 so they can plant a bomb. can see, most of the similarities are the same, except for this key sequence here, which is different.
So, you know Tifa, right? It's not really my business, but are you guys close?
Cloud! Are you ignoring me?
Tifa and I...
These sewer rats appear to call themselves Avalanche, sir. We are currently investigating whether they belong to the same group that made the attempt on your life. Rest assured, our inquiries will not take much longer.
This Nibelheim flashback with Tifa is certainly new. The earliest we see Tifa's flashback in the original game is when they talk and meet for the first time in Seventh Heaven. They also make it known that Shinra is aware of Avalanche's activities and introduce the president of Shinra and Heidegger far earlier than in the original game.
It bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me! You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
You really hear that?
Damn straight I do!
Get help.
Say that again!
I'd worry less about the planet and more about the next 5 seconds. Save the screaming for later.
Our lives are on the line now. You listening, Merc? One false move, and that happens.
Well, so much for having Cloud do all the fighting. There are some places a sword just can't reach. Just bear with him for me, would you?
Yeah.
Should have asked for more money.
In the original game, the combat system was random as far as who you encountered. In the remake, the battles are far more sequenced. As you saw, there is some setup in the story where Barry gets ready to take on the first Ray enemies. But across the game, the encounters are the same between the Midgar soldiers, the first Ray enemies, Monodrive, and Guardhounds. Here's another instance where Avalanche continues down the reactor and they both encounter and fight the sweeper enemy. Although in the original game the grunts are a random encounter, they do not exist in Chapter 1 of the remake, but they are encountered later in the game.
What are you, 20-something?
First. Huh? Soldier first class. Doesn't go into the 20s.
The hell you talking about? I mean your age, not your goddamn rank.
Another difference that was modernized in the remake was saving. In the original you had to save at these save points unless you were on the world map. In the remake they removed this and you often autosave, or you can do manual saves as long as you are not in the middle of a battle. Another minor difference here between the games is you're able to pick up the restore materia on the ground here. In the remake, you are given the restore materia as a reward for saving Jesse in the next chapter. Skipping ahead slightly, you set the bomb in Reactor 1. You have 10 minutes in the original game and you have 20 minutes in the remake. In both cases you fight the guard Scorpion boss. It's highly recommended to pummel him with lightning, and he is much more challenging in the remake with the different battle system. But upon defeating him you need to help Jesse and escape, and the reactor explodes, which concludes the Chapter 1 in the remake. Hopefully you found this recap and analysis of differences in Chapter 1 to be enjoyable. The rest of the chapter videos should not be as long, as they are either completely new material and only a recap is needed, or the amount that the chapter dives into compared to the original game is much deeper.